Hi, I am Maria Mandarino, and thank you for being here today. Today, we're going to talk about Enneagram Type 3, known as the performer. I'm going to get into some more of the keywords of Enneagram Type 3. Before we get into the topic today, I'm going to ask you to please remember to like and comment on the video, share the video. All these things really help to grow the channel and help me reach the people that need what I do. So I appreciate if you would do that for me. And also, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. You'll receive updates about what's about videos that are coming up, and also about any projects that I have going on, such as the class that I will have coming up soon on the Enneagram. So to remember to subscribe, and you'll get all those notifications. So the performer, Type 3, Enneagram Type 3, located in the heart center. So this is one of the heart center types that we'll be talking about. Last time we talked about Enneagram Type 2, the giver. Today we're going to talk about Type 3. The next one that we'll be doing next video or soon is going to be Enneagram Type 4. Okay, so those are the three heart center types. And again, today we're going to focus on 3, which is the performer. Some other keywords associated with Enneagram Type 3 is the actor, the successful person, the achiever, and the chameleon. And we'll be talking a little bit more about where this keyword chameleon comes in for Type 3. So the focus of Type 3, as with all the heart-centered types, is feelings and emotions. Type 3 in particular, though, wants to be loved for what they do. And that's really an important piece for you to remember. So Enneagram Type 3, the performer, seeks to be loved for what they do. So they're kind of this human doing and not human beings. They can really get caught up in that. And we'll be talking about that a little more. So some things that Enneagram Type 3s seek. They seek validation. Validation is really important to them because it confirms that what they're doing matters. Okay. So validation, achievement, recognition, winning. Winning, something we're going to talk about a little more. They focus on the next project. Again, it's focused on doing, achieving, accomplishing. That's actually one of the other words, is accomplishment. That's something that Type 3s will hold in high order. Success and competition are important to Type 3. They're concerned about appearances because appearances indicate their status or anyone's status. So how you appear is what your status is in life for them. And approval. So it's up there with the validation. Those are things that they're actively seeking. And depending on how healthy or unhealthy they are is, how far they take these things, because they're not all bad. But we'll see how the higher and the lower side of that can unfold. So something to remember for Type 3s, they are not consciously performing for you, but they are always performing for you. Okay, and that was an important thing for me to really understand as I was learning the Enneagram, that they're and this is where the chameleon idea comes in. It's like they'll adapt to what they think you want them to do. So it's almost like this, when they're unhealthy especially, it's almost like this tap dancing energy of, who do you need me to be? What do you want me to do? So they come to forget in getting caught up in that little tap dance. They come to forget who they actually are, and they get caught up in playing a role. And as they play that role, it's just very easy for them to forget who they actually are, what their essence is. So all that said, I want to look at the higher expressions of Type 3 because they can be tremendous people to have in our lives, to have in our families, to have on our team, to have in our friend circles, professional circles as well. So they are capable leaders. They are enthusiastic. They are action driven. They're really good problem solvers because their focus is on succeeding. So it's, what do we have to do? How do we solve this in order to succeed? So that succeeding thing is important for the 3, because they're not the only problem solvers, but they have access to the energy of another type that we'll talk about later on, that has to do with problem solving. Type 3s, healthy type 3s are incredible at providing for their loved ones. And this comes from their ability to adapt and perform and do what needs to be done to provide for their loved ones. They are competent. One of the things I admire about them, because I don't lead with type 3, but they're adept at ad-libbing without preparation. So if something happens where they need to be put on the spot, or somebody doesn't show up for a presentation, and it's like, hey, can you step in and do this presentation? There are some types that would absolutely freeze. Type 3 is like, yeah, sure. I'll do it. And they can just get up in front of a crowd and ad lib. And they do it really well. They're very personable in the way that they do it. The high side, the higher expression of type 3, they're also very motivational and inspirational. They're very compassionate. They're empathetic. They're usually right there with you. They're kind and they're understanding. And again, on the healthy side of the type, they have a very healthy self-esteem. And that self-esteem doesn't actually require the approval of others. They know that, that they're okay and that they're qualified and competent, and that they don't have to prove anything or gain your approval. And they're authentic. So those are the higher expressions. Now, the lower expressions are obviously quite different. So this is going to be the shadow of type 3. So they can be prone to vanity because they're very focused on their image. They're very image conscious, and they can present as being vain. They're prone to self-deceit because they kind of become almost in love with this image that they've worked so hard to create, this face that they put forward to the world, which is not, as I said before, they lose sight of who they really are. So they can become infatuated with this persona that they put forward. So there's this self-deceit that happens with type 3 in their lower expression. In their lower expression, they also become unaware of their feelings because, again, they're wrapped up in doing, so they don't have time to feel. They've got to do, they've got to perform, they've got to adapt to whatever the group needs or whatever you need, or whoever's in front of them. They're always adapting. So they become unaware of their feelings. And if you're involved with a type 3, what you start to notice is it feels like they're completely unaware or disinterested in your feelings. Because feelings, they're too caught up in the doing. They're too caught up in the image. So feelings, just whether it's theirs or yours, that kind of gets pushed aside for the image, the showboating that can happen with, or the grandstanding, maybe I should say, that happens with the unhealthy 3. And as I said, they resonate as human doings, not human beings. They're not real good at stopping and slowing down when they're in their unhealthy state. They get impatient with obstacles, especially because that's an obstacle to success. We have to go and succeed and compete, right? So obstacles make them really impatient. An unhealthy 3 wants all the attention. They have, whether they're children or adults, they have this energy of teacher's pet, this show-off kind of energy. It's always show time. They're always, ready to put on the show or the act and get your attention or get someone's attention, and approval. It's not just attention, it's the approval that comes with the attention. So they can cause others to feel as if they don't care about them. As I mentioned before, like your feelings start to feel like they don't matter. Their goals matter more than people when they're in the unhealthy state. So again, it's that they'll overlook the people that are in their lives, because it's all about the goal. It's all about winning. It's all about getting to the prize, right? Because the prize is what's going to get them the recognition that they crave. So with all of this, they can be perceived as being superficial or insincere. And one of the major things that I see in the type 3s that I work with is they do not know how to rest. Rest is something you can do after all the goals are met. And many of them will tell you, it's like, that's after I die, because there's things I got to do, right? There's, I got to meet the goals. I've got to win. I've got to get the prestige. I got to get the award. You know, rest will happen, you know, whenever, but it's not a value to an unhealthy 3. Unhealthy 3s will cut corners. It's good enough, get it out on stage. And there can be this fake it till you make it type of energy that they can bring when they're unhealthy. They can sometimes misrepresent themselves. Oh yeah, I can get it done. And meanwhile, it's not something that they excel in, but they're not going to tell you they can't. They'll say yes, they'll try to figure it out, or they'll kind of do just enough to make it passable. But they're really good at the as I said, the fake it till you make it kind of energy. And because of that, they can look like yes men or yes women all the time, and saying yes to things that they'd often be better served at saying, yeah, I'm familiar with that, but how about you talk to, you know, Bob or Sue, because that's really their expertise. That's really hard for a 3 to do, because it's almost like admitting failure. They can't do it, someone else can. So again, that's in the unhealthy presentation of a type 3. And the heartbreaking thing that type 3s in their unhealthy state will tell you is they feel that if they don't succeed, no one will love them. So yeah, that would be an extremely unhealthy 3 there. So some other things, some bulleted ideas about the unhealthy 3. There's a lights, camera, action kind of energy to them. It's always showtime. It's always okay for it to be showtime. And the more pressure to showtime, the better. Okay, because then they can show you how good they are, and meet what you know. If they can do it in the 11th hour, all the better, because it's going to prove to you, and you're going to give them all this praise and admiration, right? So they love working under pressure and winning under pressure. An unhealthy 3 will almost set up that kind of last minute thing to prove to you how good they are. Really unhealthy 3 can be ruthless. Okay, I'm going to talk about that a little more. Their status is everything. Anything that might jeopardize their status, they will fight. So that ruthless quality, a phrase you will almost always hear an unhealthy 3 say, or agree to if you say it: win at all costs. If this is a person who loves to win at all costs, and, you know, as the expression goes, they'll cut you off at the knees to do it, that is an unhealthy type 3. Okay. They bring a type A energy in their unhealthy state. The show must go on is one of their other super favorite expressions. So no matter what, the show must go on. No matter how much is falling apart, no matter how much it would be appropriate to stop, slow down, redirect the problem. Oh no, the show must go on, right? And the other thing that they are that they will often say, and that they really align with, is this idea that failure is not an option. And that ties into the ruthlessness in their lower expression as well, right? So failure is not an option. Anything where it may seem like I'm going to fail, they will do whatever extreme measure might be involved to not fail, because failure it's one of those visceral things. We're going to talk about that in a moment. So as I mentioned before, they're called the chameleon. That's one of their lower expressions, right? So, or keywords that defines their lower expression is the chameleon, right? Because the chameleon will change its state based on the environment that it's in. So type 3s will do that when they're unhealthy. And this is where they're associated with deceit, because it's this constant adaptability to whatever you need them to be, whatever you need them to do. And in so doing, they don't know who they are. They just get caught up in the adapting. So they're always trying to adapt to who you need them to be, forgetting who they really are, and forgetting. And again, this is one of those painful things for them when they come to realize it, forgetting, living a whole life sometimes, forgetting that it's possible to be loved for who you are, simply for who you are. Just stop the doing. We don't care about what you do. We just love you. That, when they can get to that point of recognition in themselves, that can just break them. And that's where we do some really beautiful, powerful work with type 3s, when we can get them to see that, to understand that it's possible, and people do love them just for who they are. It doesn't matter what you do. It's not your status that we love about you. It's you, right? So I'm originally from New York, and in quite some years back, we had a mayor in New York by the name of Ed Koch. I have no idea what his Enneagram type was, but Ed Koch was known for the phrase, "How am I doing? So how am I doing?" Anybody that interviewed him on the news, any public event, anything that happened, "How am I doing?" So whether or not he was a type 3, that's a type 3 phrase, that constant asking of, "How am I doing? And what do you think about what I'm doing?" Just think of Ed Koch. Okay, so that's a 3 on stage, wanting, basically begging you for applause, for approval. So back to the healthy expression of type 3. Some of the things that we love about healthy type 3s is they have the energy to meet the goal. It's like they just find this the resources for that energy, to have that energy to keep pushing to the goal, to the object of success. Okay. In reaching the goal, another really neat thing about a healthy 3 is they are fun about it, because they love competition so much that they're going to bring you into the excitement of working on the goal. So they're fun to work with. They're fun and they're spirited. They're inspirational, and they're inspirational. Why? Because, hey, winning is fun. Let's all win, right? So that's the healthy 3. They're going to bring you into the fun part of winning and meeting the goal. The healthy 3, as I mentioned before, they understand that they are loved for who they are, and they can keep the doing in perspective. They still love to do, they still love to perform, but they don't gain their identity from the performance. They know that even if they don't, they're loved, right? And we see that heart type in them really, flourish. There is also a constancy to the energy of type 3. Unlike the chameleon that's so changeable and adaptable, there's a constancy to the way the 3 will show up, and that focus on the goal, on whatever the target is, especially if it's in group. Like there's this focus on the target. And they'll bring the group along into that. And they won't try to do the grandstanding and be the star. It's kind of like they bring the group into that energy of we succeed, instead of doing that show-off thing of the unhealthy 3. So I mentioned failure before. And if I can leave you with one thing to really remember, if you have a type 3 in your life, if you are a type 3, stay with this phrase. The thing that they fear more than death is failure. Okay, I'm going to say that again. The thing that type 3 fears more than death is failure. And that is because their entire identity is based on success. And if they fail, well, then they are nothing. Okay, again, this is the unhealthy state. This is that I don't do failure because it literally feels like death to them. They can't, they don't know what to do with it. Okay, so failure is feared as much as death. Some somatic experiences associated with type 3. They hold their feelings in their chest. Okay, so again, remember their heart types, right? So there's this this holding that goes on in their chest when it comes to feelings. They are a feeling type, but they avoid their feelings and instead put the energy of feeling into succeeding. Okay, so they suppress those feelings and they will suppress them here. The other somatic experience around type 3 is stillness is painfully hard for them. And why? Because working is what gets you to success. So if I'm still, I'm not going to succeed, or I'm not succeeding, or I'm not meeting the goal, and somebody else might be, and then I'll be upstaged, and that would be bad. So stillness is a really tough thing for the type 3. Health risks that we associate with type 3 because of all of this: heart attacks, all that holding, all that tightness, all that unwillingness to feel, and instead just keep doing, workaholics, basically, right? More prone to heart attacks, also prone to weak immune systems. And I have seen that in the type 3s that I've worked with. And then again, in terms of the somatics, there's this armoring of the chest. And in that armoring, they want to feel, but they suppress it. So they suppress pain and they suppress grief, and they hold it all here in their great hearts. Okay. So some tips: if you have a type 3 in your life, remind them that they matter because of who they are. You love them. You don't love them because of what they do or what they succeed in. Just reinforcing that you love them. You love what they do too, but you love them anyway. All right. So let them communicate that to them. Encourage them to rest. First of all, it gives them perspective in terms of reaching goals in a healthy way, but it's also good for their health, for their physical health and well-being. So if you have a type 3 in your life, encourage them to rest, model rest for them, because sometimes they have to learn it from watching other people. Help them get in touch with their feelings, because out of all 9 types, they're actually the type that is, it's hardest for them to be in touch with their feelings. So, so help them to try and connect with their feelings, what they feel, what's been painful, what might be suppressed. Get them to talk, try to draw it out of them, and get them to acknowledge that pausing and feeling their stuff is, there's value in that, first of all, and that it gets them away from trying to adapt all the time to everyone else's needs, to, kind of get them to stop doing that, and instead trying to get them to be in touch with their feelings, however deep and suppressed they may be. They may be something that just recently happened, or maybe something deeper and long-standing. Communicate with them about that, and the importance of feeling what's in here. If you yourself lead with type 3, or believe that you might, consider who you have ignored on your intense road to success, because they can promise you there have been people that you have ignored. So, so take inventory of that. Schedule rest, learn to meditate, find comfort in stillness, find comfort in the discomfort, maybe I should say, in stillness, because in the beginning it will be uncomfortable for you. So try to find comfort in stillness and silence, and value in stillness and silence. Work on facing self-deceptive behaviors. One of the ways I do this with 3s that I work with is keep asking them to ask themselves, who am I? Who am I? When I finally stop doing, when I finally stop working on the goal, and stop worrying about the next project, just stop. and ask yourself, who am I? Who am I? All right. And if you do lead with 3, you're probably going to want to work through that with someone, because that is going to be one overwhelming question, and your inclination is going to be to deceive yourself from facing it. Okay, so working with someone who's trained in the Enneagram is really helpful there. Develop self-awareness around your work addiction, or more likely work addictions. Okay, so you can't change it until you're aware of it. So develop some self-awareness about that. And also redefine your idea of success, right? Again, getting away from the human doing, and what is the human being? What is the successful human being? You know, if you have a family, what is my place in that family without me being the human doing, right? So redefine your success that way, through your family, through your social group, social groups, friend groups. Redefine your success, your definition of success. So to sum up, some points of awareness for type 3s, the takeaways here. Remember that you can make others feel unimportant in being so hyper-focused on goals and succeeding. You can come across as being insincere. You can seem superficial and showy. And all of these things, I think this is the most important thing for my type 3s to take away here, is all of those things can cause others to feel pushed away by you. And then it's not uncommon for them to just kind of go away. They might not literally go away, but they kind of drop out of your energy because they feel like they don't matter to you. So think about your relationships. Think about how to improve them by being more present to yourself, to your feelings, to your emotions, to the people around you, to your tribe, and less focused on gaining your whole identity from winning and meeting the goals all the time, right? Remember that there are people who love you, just you, okay? So that's it for today in type 3. I have interviews scheduled. I fully admit they are now going to be out of sequence because it's really been hard to time everything. And getting people lined up for those interviews. So do look for the interviews coming up, but again, they're going to be out of sequence. So, and if you're interested in scheduling a spiritual direction session with me, I use the Enneagram with that, and I don't have to use the Enneagram with it as well. So that's entirely up to you and how you want to work. But if you do want to schedule a session of spiritual direction with me, I am available for that. You can reach me through my website, mariamandarino.com. I'll put the link for that in the show notes as well. Please remember to like, comment, and share the video. And remember to subscribe to get those updates. And I will see you next time, and we will be talking about Enneagram Type 4, known as the romantic, the last type of the heart types. So, okay, I look forward to seeing you then, and thank you for being here with me today.